Hello everyone, Derek Johannes, your favorite fitness YouTuber, coming back at you with a new video. And I'm going to be going over what I like to call the health and fitness trifecta. So I came up with this kind of similar to, by the way, I'm wearing a shirt, Layne Norton. I'm going to leave his channel in the description box for you guys to check out his videos. He has a PhD in nutrition, and he was also at one point had the world record in the squat in powerlifting, the USAPL. And so basically what I've came up with over here is the three main ingredients, we'll call them, for health and fitness. So we have your training, your diet, and your supplements. So if your training's not off, then if one of these three things are off, then it's not going to be perfect. And my goal is to get everything as perfect as I can. So I came up with what I think is most important. First, I'm going to start with training. So when we're talking about adherence and training volume, that would be your weight times your reps times your steps for your volume. And for adherence, that would be how well you can stick to a program. So if you have enough time to do a 5x5, then do a 5x5, right? So if you're doing 5 sets of 5, that would be a total of 25 reps at a slightly higher weight than if you were to do 3 sets of 10 with less weight. However, if you're doing 3 sets of 10, you're going to be able to complete that workout faster due to the fact that you're using less weight, and you'll be able to recover from the workout faster. So that's basically your training volume. It's a general approach to that. Now you also have your warm-up sets that would also be not included toward your volume. I just consider that being 50% to anywhere between 40 and 60% of your one-rep max for sets of 10. And then you have your exercise selection, which would be, okay, so if you're setting up a workout program, you want to always do something that's going to be the hardest exercise at the beginning, and then get into your isolation work at the end. Is the way I like to set up a day of training, typical day of training. So it would be, for example, if I'm doing an upper body day, I'll start with a bench press, and I'll do, say, 2 sets of 10 at 135, and then I'll go into, if I'm doing a 4x10, it will be 4 sets of 10 with, say, around 185 pounds to 200 pounds, depending on how your nutrition was for the day and your supplements were for the day, as well as sleep, and a few other things that are minuscule factors. And then we have our training frequency and intensity, which that will be, so frequency would be how often you are working out, which would be 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, or 7, depending on the person, their goal, their experience level, what they're trying to set out to achieve. And then we also have our cardio and flexibility right here for 4 and 5. Now, I'm not putting these in any specific order. I have your cardio and flexibility tied back into adherence. So if you're a person who prefers to do cardiovascular exercise like running, biking, and you would rather do that than doing weightlifting, then you're more likely to stick to your training. So if you're doing cardio 2 days a week, you're not going to be doing weightlifting as often, for example. So I'll use an example. If you have someone who is lifting weights 4 days a week on upper or lower, so they're doing 2 bench days, a squat day, a deadlift day, and they're doing, on the 5th day, the Friday, they're doing cardio, or they're doing cardio on the Wednesday, and then taking the weekends off, then you are probably not going to be going as high in your training volume for your squat or your deadlift, due to the fact that your recovery will not be the same as if you were just doing 2 bench press days, a squat day, and a deadlift day. Now, depending on what the goal is, so if you are training for football, I'll use compared to powerlifting, that will be definitely a better approach than if you're doing training for powerlifting, where that's a pure strength, pure power type sport. Whereas football, you do have some cardiovascular involved, obviously, during the plays are longer, for example. So when you're doing a deadlift, a bench, or a squat, it's only about 5 seconds you're doing the actual lift, whereas a football play could go on between 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15, depending on how long the play is. So it could be all the way till, say someone's running back an interception. That could take as long as 20 seconds, 30 seconds maybe, depending on the player, if you're NFL, college, high school level, etc. Alright, got a little off topic, but I just want to use this good example that maybe some people could relate to. And then we have our nutrition here. So we have our calories, which would be / energy, which would be how much energy you're basically intaking for your body. So to do that, you can plug into a calculator, find your TDEE, which is your total daily energy expenditure rate, which would just basically be the amount of calories you burn on a daily basis. To do that, you can plug into a calculator, like I said, or find, it's basically through trial and error. Even after plugging in through a calculator, you'll find that there'll be still some error with that, just because math is not always exact for things. So we have macronutrients right here. Would be number 2 on the list right here. So that would be your protein, your carbs, and your fats in grams. So for protein, like I said, and I think in a prior video, I'll link that down below in the description box, where I talk about, I go into more depth about nutrition. And that would be how many, so for protein, that would be about 1 gram per pound of body weight as a general recommendation. Carbs would be the number that you'd play around with a lot. For fats, usually around 0.4 to 0.5 grams per pound of body weight. So for a 200-pound person, that would be around 85 to 100 grams of fat. And then we have our meal timing and meal frequency, which a lot of people back, we'll say 10 years ago, thought that eating 6 meals a day was without a doubt the most important thing for losing weight. Whereas now, studies have proven that this right here, calories and energy, they're intaking throughout the day, is the most important thing for weight loss. Not to say that number 3 on the list doesn't matter, just that focus on the hierarchy of what's important, so which is the 1 and 2. And then we also have 4, which would be your fiber and your food quality, and that's just minuscule details when it comes to nutrition, such as whether you're eating a white or brown rice, things like whole wheat pasta compared to regular pasta, or white bread compared to wheat bread. Whereas if you're having wheat bread, you're going to have more fiber, you're going to be able to stay full longer, whereas if you're having more sugary-based carbohydrates, you are going to run into the issue of you're going to have something, you're going to, say for example you have Gatorade during your workout, which I generally do pretty often, then afterwards you're going to definitely feel like the Gatorade burn through you pretty fast. So I usually do that when I'm trying to gain weight. When I'm trying to maintain, even sometimes I'll throw it in there, but when I'm trying to lose weight, that's usually the first thing that I'll cut out, is having sugar during my workout, because I know that it's going to be something that will benefit me, but it will not benefit me to the fact where I will be hungry. So I will not feel nourished, even though I still eat about the same amount of food. And then we also have 5, which is supplements, which leads into the last part of the trifecta of my training, diet, and supplements for the health and fitness trifecta. And as you see, I have an arrow here too. So the arrow is that supplements will not work if your nutrition is not right, if your training is not right. As we're training, will not have any effect if your nutrition isn't right or your. So in other words, all 3 of these things are tied into one another. For supplements, I take whey protein as needed to fit my macronutrient protein. So if I'm trying to hit 250 grams of protein a day, for example, that would be over 6 meals, 50 grams per meal. And then we have our creatine monohydrate, 5 grams a day. Like I said, in another video, I've gone as high as 10 grams. I do think there is some benefit to that. I'll link a study down below. BCAAs, 5 to 10 grams daily. Fish oil, 1 to 3 grams of DHA and EPA. daily. So what I mean by that is you could take a fish oil product and you go read the label on it and see how much of DHA and EPA it has in it. If you're having, most products have around 500 to 600 milligrams, which would mean you take 2 of them, you hit over your 1 gram minimum per day. Vitamin D, 5,000 IUs, and this is something that you should check to see your blood test on. So if vitamin D is, you can test through your blood work every year, and you can see where your levels are for that. So as always, don't forget to like the video, comment down below, subscribe to my channel. Catch you later.